I'll open this up but I'm just gonna do a kind of from 10,000 foot, and then you guys can ask me questions you want to ask. But um, for us to be able to present something as coaches and have 95% of the coaches know and look at this and say, let's do this, is amazing. We never agree on anything, whether it doesn't matter. We don't agree. And so this is something that I look at and needed Tommy Amaker to be a partner to help organize it, needed to house it somewhere because we coaches can go back to our campuses and work with what we're doing, our own team and our own athletic department, but we have jobs. So it had to be housed and be housing it in the John McLendon Foundation, and what John McLendon stood for. And for our fans, he was like the first guy to platoon teams. He was like the first. And you're talking about the first he studied under James Naismith, first African-American coach to be at a predominantly white school, won national titles at Tennessee State, was an administrator, I believe, at Kentucky State, but he's been known he brought in fast break basketball. Dean Smith got the four-corner offense from him. He is a pioneer, was a pioneer in this, and a true gentleman that to be able to house this there is huge. And then to have athletic departments look at this, like the Pac-12, all 12 ADs voted it, let's do this. We'll support it. We'll work with you coaches. Let's get this done. Knowing the lack of diversity within athletic departments, not on the fields, but within the athletic department. These are not coaching positions. That's not what these are. These are the future leaders and decision makers. We're trying to develop those. And we'd like them all to be ADs, but let's just say in 20 years, we have 5 times as many minority ADs as we have today. But you can also have leaders in the WSA, in the whatever area within the athletic department, decision makers and leaders. That's what we're trying to do. And the biggest thing is access and opportunity for minorities who may not apply for the job because they may say, I'll never get it. Well, let me just say this, apply. That we are looking for the next wave of leaders and decision makers who are minorities in our profession. We're seeing it now, and we believe this will be different by the time, we've asked each coach to not only fund positions, be the point of funding, but to be in it for at least 4 years. Some maybe a little bit less, but most of the guys have committed to 4 because we need 4 years to get the data. What exactly will this look like in 4 years? What will the data tell us? Quantitatively, you want to make sure that we're all investing in something that's working. And so coaches have agreed. So it's the amazing thing has been whether you're a black coach, a white coach, of Latin descent, Frank Martin, everyone is saying, wow, we got to do this. And everybody is investing their money and their time as coaches in this. So let me just kind of, you may have specific questions about, let's just stay on this right now.
Hey guys, is the raise hands feature working? I'm not seeing anything in there. Oh, yep, I got it. I got one from John Hale. John, we'll go ahead and start with you. Hold on just a second. Let me unmute you here. All right, John, go ahead.
Al, do you have an idea yet what the specific positions are going to be at Kentucky, and then what you kind of envision for yourself in terms of interaction with those people once they are hired?
Yeah, John, here's what's been great about what we'll do. They call me the idea man, and then everybody else has to follow through and do all the stuff. And in this one, why are you smiling, Eric? Don't smile. That's not funny. I'm kidding when I say that. You're acting like it's the truth. But Dwayne Peavy has taken a lead role. Mitch is behind it. Mitch loves it. And Mitch said to Dwayne, I will do anything I can to help with this. But Dwayne went to department heads and said, who needs people? Who do we need? And there were what, Eric, 12 department heads? And we have it down to 8 where he feels comfortable that they're really needed, but we're going to get that to 5. Now, my commitment was 8 a year for 4 years. They want 5 a year for 6. And I said, that's fine. They feel that we can do a better job when we get it to 5. We want to do 2 mentors within the athletic department. We'd love to have these future leaders shadow Mitch, shadow Dr. Capilouto. And my role will be once a month, maybe more, having dinner at my house, doing something out, having speakers. I've been with Spike Lee, I need you in this. Jamie Foxx, I need you in this. We're having, and that can be because it'll be Zoom, where all 50 to 70 nationwide that are in the program can be involved in that, quote, leadership talk. And then the other educational parts of this, wherever coaches can add in. And it's not just basketball coaches. Mark Stoops is in this with me. So I called Mark. He said, yeah, I'm all in. Tell me what you want me to do. So across the country, basketball coaches are approaching other coaches to say, will you join me on this? Will you help invest in this with me? And I think all coaches know that diversity, lack of diversity in college athletics, not on the fields, but within the administrations, it's an easy call. You just look.
John, this is Ken Spencer with WHAS 11. Not just the amount of coaches, but how important was it, the kind of coaches that you've been able to get on this? You know, yourself, Tom Izzo, Bill Self, Coach K, Nick Saban. I mean, does that help kind of legitimize this thing even more?
Well, I haven't talked to Nick yet, so maybe he put something out, which I would be happy about. But Herm Edwards, Lovie Smith, Mark Stoops, I mean, baseball coaches. I haven't talked to Nick Mangione because I haven't been back on campus in a minute, but I'll approach him with this, and I know he'll be all over it. But let me just say, it's not the name, it was the passion. And I told every coach that I talked to, a lot of these are really dear friends of mine. And again, understanding in this profession I'm in, it's kind of hard to have real good friends. I just happen to do this long enough and been beaten by enough coaches that they're fine with me. But I wanted them not because they were my friend, not because they were black or white or Hispanic, because they were passionate. This has to work. This has to work. And the only way it works is an athletic director shows, doesn't talk, shows the department that this is important to him. He and Dwayne, Mitch and Dwayne. And then that the coach lets the athletic department know how important this is. Now let's get this, the whole thing. This is about access and opportunity. This is about a springboard to something good. This is not everybody, we all know, has to earn your way and has to prove your worth. But you have to have access and opportunity to be able to do that. I believe again, here's the other thing. Our own athletes, because this isn't just about athletes, but our own athletes, if they want to be involved in this, they are more than welcome. They just won't train or work at the University of Kentucky. They'll work at another school. Now, we call that other school. I call Mark Few. How's he working out? How's she working out? And again, I say she because we want women involved in this as much as men. But Mark Few says, unbelievable. I tell Mitch has a position, Mitch hires them back. That's how this should work. Not that it's, you owe me. No, this is that we need the next leaders, the next decision makers in athletics. And eventually it moves up to, all right, now we get the leader of the whole department that's a minority. How does this work now?
All right, next up we'll go to Larry Votts. Larry, you should be unmuted.
John, is this something you wish you had thought about sooner, or something like this had been in the back of your mind ever before at all?
Let me give you a couple things, Larry, that I always wonder. If I was a coach in the 60s, would I have the courage to do the stuff I do now, or that I did in the 90s when I was at UMass or Memphis or here? If I was 65, could I do it? Could I do what CM Newton did at Alabama? At Alabama, would I have the courage to do what's right, even though it's not popular? I don't know. I just got off the phone with Larry Brown, and my comment to him was, why? Because he said, I'm jealous you're doing this because we all know it was needed. Da, 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 da. And I said, Coach, I got to ask you, why didn't we do this 10 years ago? Did it take all this stuff? Did it take George Floyd to come to us and say, all right, how bad is this? And then you look and you do some soul searching and say, this is not good. This is bad. We have to, again, someone may say, I think Eric had me on the line with someone who said, why, like in every field, in your field, like I'm not, we all kind of look the same here, short of one or two, okay? So it's in a lot of fields, the same thing. The question is, why would we do it in athletics? Because it's our sphere of influence. If anybody on this call wanted to do something in their field, you probably could have influence because it's your field. For us as coaches, our own staff, and you all that know me know my staff, and if you've known me for 20 years, my staff I'm not just talking my assistant coaches, weight strength trainers, videos, basketball ops, my personal secretary, we have diversity. We've done that. But your next move is, okay, we have influence over the athletic department, especially if we coaches are funding the positions. Then you truly have some influence. And now it becomes athletic departments looking at this saying, you know what, we need to do this. And it's funny that, like I said, the Pac-12 ADs, 12-0, we're in. And so hopefully we're going to get some other leagues to do the same. But let me say this. Our initial thing was, let's get 100 coaches. I said all along, and I was talked into that, and we've moved it back. We need to start smaller to make sure we work through everything we're going to have to work through the first year. Because this thing has moved, Eric, am I right? From where this started 5 weeks ago, it has moved, and then it moved over here, and it moved, and now we're right there. That's where we are. But by the next year, it may be over here somewhere. And that's why I'm hoping it lands at about 50, 60 coaches, 50 to 70, 75 positions, and that we now say, all right, let this go. Now, let me throw this before you ask me. Some people said, with all that's going on, why wouldn't you wait a year? With all the uncertainty, why wouldn't you wait a year? Well, here's my answer, two pieces. One, the momentum right now we have, the wind is at our back. Winds change. At the beginning of next year, we may not have the momentum. I may not be able to gather the coaches, Tommy and I, together to say, let's do this. That's one thing. The second thing is, we want to show the ADs that this means something to us coaches. We know what's going on campuses, but even that, it's going to create opportunities and jobs and things like that. But here's the last thing. Someone may say, well, they may have to work remotely. Like we all are having to learn to work remotely. And it may be the best thing we do for 6 months. They got to be remote. And then they're on campus 6 months. And maybe at Kentucky, we're going to do 2-year program instead of 1. We want to make sure we're really doing what we can for these young people. So when they leave Kentucky, they say, the best experience I've ever had in my life, the greatest preparation for what I want to do. And that may be in business. It may not just be in athletics.
All right, next up, we'll go to Michael Burke, and then Lee Howard will come to you after that.
Coach, good morning. Michael Burke with LEX 18 TV. If you could peek ahead 4, 5, 6 years from now, what to you would be successful for this program? What would success look like to you if you could look ahead 4, 5, 6 years from now?
We're going to use the term look. Athletic departments would look a little different. That's what I would say would be success. 10 years. 20 years would be we have 5 times the number of minority ADs that we have right now. 20 years, 5 times. That to me would be success. And if what I said just happened, my hope would be, and this is about John McLendon. This is a program through him. This was an idea that would never have been able to happen if we didn't get John McLendon. Okay, we're going to talk about pro-link staffing too. Remind me, Eric. If it wasn't for those people, if it wasn't for G3 Marketing, if it wasn't for Bob Vecchione of the NACTA, the executive director of NACTA, if we all wouldn't come together, and at least 50 coaches. Because if we did it at Kentucky by ourselves with 5 young people, I mean, it may have, you know, that would be okay. We did, but that would make us feel better. But I'm not sure the impact. This can have an impact. And my hope is the coaches, the ambassadors that are involved in this, Tommy and myself, we look back and say, the best thing in our career that we did, forget about national titles, league titles, all the other stuff that comes along with coaching. This is where we had an impact.
All right, Lee K. Howard, we'll go to you. Lee, can you hear us?
Lee, you got to get
There
off
we go.
mute and don't be,
There we
you
go.
can't be worse than me, Lee. Come on now. I'd
Hey,
have my
I
wife
know.
get me on here.
You actually just answered my question. I was going to ask you about last night's episode with Coffee with Cal when Izzo talked about this was bigger than national championships. And I found that to be kind of compelling because you guys are so often judged by wins and losses and national championships. I wonder if you could expand on that as maybe this being a pivotal moment in future of athletic departments and how this could, in fact, be bigger than wins and losses as something you guys are remembered by.
That's my hope, but let me say this. This didn't take a whole lot of courage. Like when you saw it, you said, and someone on here asked me, why didn't you do this long ago? This was long overdue. This didn't take a lot of courage. Let me give you this. One of the guys that I've really always looked up to as a coach was Dean Smith. Always. He was inventive. He was curious, all that stuff on the basketball court. But do you remember him off the court? Do any of you know the things that he did off the court? Which was sat at the stand with African Americans when he was teetering on whether he was going to be a good coach at North Carolina. That he brought in Charlie Scott into the ACC, recruited by Larry Brown. When he was in 9th grade, when he was in middle school in Kansas, now you think about this. His school, middle school was integrated. His high school wasn't. He stood before the high school board and said, listen, this isn't right. And with Charlie Scott, he said he deserves to be a player here. And so that's courage. C.M. Newton, that's courage. Doing what what we're doing, why you wouldn't do this, maybe it would be financial, I don't know. But this is easy. When you all look at this, you would say, yeah, why didn't you do this before? And I appreciate the question. Why didn't I? I don't know. Maybe it wasn't in the forefront. Maybe it wasn't something that I thought was important. But you know what? It meant I wasn't thinking deep enough. I'm probably thinking about myself more than what's going on around me.
All right, next we'll go to Jerry Tipton with the Lexington Herald Leader.
Unmute, Jerry. Us old people don't know how to do this, but go ahead.
Thank you, Coach. I'm coachable. I appreciate that. Just a process question. I wonder, when someone applies on the website, do they see a list of opportunities, or how does it work? How will it work to where they learn they've got a spot?
Great. you guys, you all want to hear this? I'll go kind of in depth. Is that okay? Give me a thumbs up. You'll give me a thumbs up. I'll know you want to hear this. Okay. So I'll go in depth. So my biggest worry, Jerry, was what if 1,000 applications come in? Who the hell's going to go through those? Like, I don't have time to do that. So all of a sudden, we have ProLink Staffing, Tony Manfuso, who's a Kentucky guy, whose son was a ball boy, donates $250,000 worth of work because he sees what this program can do. And he says ProLink Staffing will deal with all that. And I said, wait a minute, tell me what that means. What if you have 1,000 applications? How quick can you turn it around so we can get these people started? He said, 3 weeks. So what? He said, I'm sending 750 nurses to Arizona. So yes, we can do this. So I said, well, give me 1,000 come in. What would you do? First 200 maybe aren't qualified. You have to be a college graduate, postgraduate. You may have a background that doesn't fit this, whatever may be the case. He would call those 200 and say, to be in this program, do these things and then reapply next year. So now we have 800. We're going to hire 400. He would first interview them Zoom by Zoom. Look at, they each are going to have to write an essay. They see what their strengths are, their weaknesses, what area that he thinks. They may think something, he may think something else. And I'm saying it would be a staff of people. We would then post, before this happens, we would post the positions on the website. He would then give each of us, if we have 5 candidates, he can give you 2 to choose from, 4 to choose from, or he could pick the candidate for you. So say there's 400, Dwayne Peavy wants more because he wants them to go through the process, even though only one of them would get the position. So he wanted more. There may be some that only want 2 to be able to pick one. The school, whichever, like Dwayne Peavy and that group would pick who R5 would be. So then I said, all right, we have 400 people that weren't hired. What happens then? He said, they go in my database. And if any business calls me for minority hiring, whether it's accountants, ITs, whatever, we have a database right there ready to go. And I'm like, you're kidding me. That was my fear. ProLink did it for us. ProLink Staffing. I cannot tell you, I'm not sure we could have done this without them. I know we couldn't have done this if we didn't house it in the John McLendon Foundation. Where would we have housed it? What, would I have done it? How would we have done it? Who's writing the checks to the, so that is all the McLendon Foundation. The ProLink Staffing is doing their stuff. The fundraising for matching funds. Any business out there that is concerned about diversity, wants to be in a solution to that, can send matching funds to schools that, and coaches that, everybody thinks every coach is this and that. Well, you're talking about 150 coaches. You're talking 200 that, I was at that level where you're living like everybody else. That person might say 33,000. I'm not sure I can do that. And that's why we say, okay, what can you do? We can get matching dollars, get other coaches, get people in your community, and now you got a position. That's what G3 Marketing is doing for us.
All right, next up, we'll go with John Wong. Go ahead, John.
Hey, John, I've heard you talk frequently about finding your why, discovering the motivation of doing what you do. For somebody like me looking at you, somebody of your stature, your position in life, it would be real easy to just kind of sit back in my bubble and just coach my team. What is it that causes you to just continuously go off the court and do all these things that make a difference? Have you always been like that?
Well, I appreciate that, John. But, my mother was a pay it forward. Many things happen for you. Make sure you continue to pay forward. But in this case, I had many people, John, tell me, you need to step back. You don't need to step in this. You need to just basically protect yourself. Don't. And I said some things on Coffee with Cal where we all watched. How could one human being do that to another human being in Minnesota? And again, I can say this however you want, but he was murdered. George Floyd, he was murdered. That moved me to say, wow, am I missing something? And I was, and I made the statement. I start to understand that I may never understand, but I stand with you. And then it became my wife, when she was hearing some of the conversation, Cal, stay out. You don't need to do panels. You're a white man. Why would you step in this? You benefited. And my wife said, I got off a call and she said, that's exactly why you need to let your voice be heard. But more than that, you need to do something. You come up with all these great ideas, come up with something. And so from that, it became, where is my sphere of influence? And walking the boardwalk and thinking to myself and talking to different people. And, you know, I talked to Greg Moore from the HBCUs and the historical Black colleges and universities, and ran this by him 3 different times. Like, this is what we're thinking. What do you think? How does this appear? Can this work? Ran it by Bruiser Flint, who's, you know, we worked together at UMass. He's my brother. And he said, look, minorities don't have a voice in the room. And I said, Brew, if you're in there by yourself, it's hard to have a voice. It's hard to really, you better have a lot of courage. The second piece is we have to have multiple voices in the room, which eventually lead to leadership and decision-making positions within the room. And that may not mean just the athletic director. That could be other positions within athletics. And then I knew this may be an idea, but that's the smallest piece. Then it became, how do we galvanize everybody behind this? And then when we do this, John, I step back, and all I'm worried about is Kentucky and the 5 future leaders we have there. And then I'll worry about that. But that's the genesis of it. But this is not about me. It's about the question someone asked. Cal, this is all good. Why didn't you do this 10 years ago? If you have the ability, and to be honest with you, John, I would have been more courageous if I did it 10 years ago. This one's easy. This one, I was shoved to it. And we coaches are really putting a little pressure on athletic departments to move in this direction by creating the positions, doing everything where it's hard to say no. How do you say no when we're all going to need positions? And we probably needed the positions before the coronavirus. Now we probably need them more.
All right, we're going to circle back to John Hale with the Courier-Journal.
You talked there about the pressure that you're putting on athletic departments to follow
It's
through.
not. I don't mean like we're
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
We're when the coaches in mass do this, it moves people. You know, so I don't want you to feel like how about this? The pressure on the ADs in the Pac-12, it took them 30 seconds to all say, I'm in.
Yeah.
Because it's the right thing. So when I say that, you know, that may be the case in some places, but not many places.
Well, to that kind of point, we've seen in the last couple of months a lot of Black athletes across college sports start to use their voices a little more. There are top basketball recruits talking about going to HBCUs now. How much does that kind of move the point to get athletic departments to realize that they need to change the way they look demographically?
I just hope they do it because it's the right thing to do, that they see that we lack diversity, not on the fields, but in the athletic departments, that you can just see it, you know it. And again, this is access and opportunity. You have to earn your way. All of us do on this call. You earn your way. But some of us on this call have had many more opportunities. And there are some out there that would be more talented than any of us on here, but they've never had the opportunity. They never had someone pushing them. They've never had the connections. They never rubbed shoulders with anybody. This gives minorities a chance to prove themselves. That's what this is. But we mentors, we've been taught. And leadership, and I say this every year, even if you have a great personality, it doesn't mean you know how to lead. Even if you have the characteristics of a leader, it doesn't mean you know how to lead. Most of the kids that I get here don't know how to lead. And so we'll be a part of teaching that. And it's like making decisions. I mean, that all will come into play too.
All right, we're going to circle back to Kent Spencer, and then Brian Kennedy will come to you after that.
John, Kent with WHAS 11. You know, in April, it seemed kind of silly to talk about maybe there's not going to be a college football season, but here we are, and it's kind of in doubt. Do you have any concerns about the upcoming college basketball season and whether that's going to happen?
Well, let me just say my opinion on this would be a guess. And any of you here that would have an opinion, it's a guess. My hope is, and forget about basketball, how about all these sports where these young men and women have dedicated themselves since they were 12 years old to these kind of opportunities, and it's taken away. So my hope is that we tamp down this virus and we're able to come back and play. But if you're asking me, and let me say this, my hope is pretty strong for basketball because I have a really good team. So I want us to play basketball in a worse way and be in that NCAA tournament and make a run. But we've got to go with the science. We've got to trust the people within that field, within our league, within our schools, and we got to roll with what they're telling us to do.
All right, Brian Kennedy with WTVQ.
Coach, ideally when you put out these applications, especially at a school like Kentucky, hopefully you're going to get a lot of applications. So if I'm a minority student at Kentucky, which I once was, what can set me apart from everyone else to where I have a better chance of getting these as something that's hopefully going to be highly competitive?
Well, my hope, Brian, is they're highly competitive. And every application goes to pro staffing or pro link staffing first before they come to us. And when they come to us, each applicant, the finalists, there would be also, here's why from pro link staffing, why we think this candidate would be great there in that position. So it is going to be competitive, but here's my point. Apply. You know, so again, there are many times a minority may not apply, Brian, because they say I got no chance for that. They're going to hire, you know, an older, you know, whatever. This is, you truly have a chance. It's going to be competitive. You may have to apply 2 years, 3 years before you can get a position, but ProLink staffing will tell you each year, this is where you're short. This is what you have to do. I mean, we're saying like having a master's or working on a master's, that'll play into it, but it's not the defining thing. Somebody may be 28 years old and have some real experience that somebody looks at and says, wow, that they may be changing fields. We don't know where this is going to go, but I do hope this. I hope this bleeds into business so that businesses will look at this program and say, we got to look at candidates from that program because they're being trained to lead and be decision makers. And that's what we're looking for in our business too. I don't know if that answers it. But I don't know if you heard, Brian, if you were at Kentucky, you would be applying through ProLink and be at Georgia or at Boston College or at, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't train at North Carolina or at Kentucky. Let me say this. Dwayne already had, after yesterday's announcement, I think he said he had 10 applications sent to him. And then we had to say they have to go to the ProLink staffing. And then it filters to us.
Next, we're going to move to Kyle Tucker with The Athletic. Kyle, you're unmuted.
Cal, you talk about uncertainty with the season. There's uncertainty in a lot of areas for you all right now. I wondered, is your whole team on campus now? And then as a follow-up to that, what is the latest on Olivier Sarr? Do you have any feeling for timeline on when you might hear something from the NCAA about his waiver?
Well, first of all of our kids are on campus. I believe, Eric, They're all on campus. They're all working out. They're in a tight bubble when you talk about the lodge, the practice facility, what we have there. They are getting antsy. They keep asking, when are we going to see you? You guys understand I can't work with them till the 20th. They're doing conditioning, weight training, and they're in the gym with shooting machines and shooting on their own, where they each block out time in the gym, and they're at two ends, and they, not touching each other and all that. The kids seem to be safe. Olivier's stuff has been in. We're waiting to hear. We feel confident, but you never know till you hear it's good to go. He's got a great case, but we'll wait to hear.
All right, Jerry, we're going to circle back to you.
Unmute, Jerry. There you go.
I want to make sure I understood yesterday on Coffee with Cal. I thought you said that former players were contributing or helping to fund. Maybe I misheard that, but I thought you said.
Yeah, we're not there yet. Some of my players have retweeted I'm all in. So some of that's out there, but we haven't gotten to the point of all that. I mean, literally, Jerry, we flipped this around in how many weeks, Eric? 3?
Yeah, about 3,
4.
4.
4 weeks. So to that point, all we're doing right now to get matching funds is businesses. How do we get businesses that want to invest in this program and maybe use it for them to look at candidates also for jobs that they have? So we've approached 5 or 8 different businesses, big companies that we're looking at to be involved.
Guys, we'll go about another 5-10 minutes. I don't know if I didn't lower your hand or if you got another one.
Yeah, I got another one. John, when it comes to a kid like Olivier that you'd like to see get eligible, do you pay attention to other cases around the country? And some of them may not be the same, but maybe it's kind of the way the NCAA is going with things.
Well, there's the 2 pieces of this is that we have an idea because every kid that leaves us is ruled eligible right away, so we know, you know what I'm saying? We know what it is, and I would say that these cases have to fall into like 3 different buckets: this bucket, that bucket, or this bucket, to really be considered. And knowing that, I don't, I may have said some stuff yesterday on Stephen A. Smith, maybe got him mad, and they'll say, great, SAR's not eligible. I don't think they would do that ever to a kid, but that, these cases are, well, let me say this. Some are more high profile, this one, which they'll be more in tune to because it's a high profile case. So, I mean, I don't know if that answers your question, but kids have left us. I have an idea of what the procedure was.
Guys, I don't currently have anything. Oh, hold on. To just get one in. Hold on. Larry, I'm coming to you. Give me a second. There you go, Larry. You should be unmuted.
Okay. So, John, are you saying because with you it's a more high-profile case that it just takes longer, or it's harder?
What they do is they'll red flag it because it's Kentucky. It's Olivier Sarr, who's one of the best transfer players, and they'll want to make sure. Let's really make sure we have this right, and they may take more time. But I don't think it's like they're treated any different. No, I know they don't treat it any different than any other case, but it is more of a high profile case. So they'll look at it.
All right, Lee Howard, coming back to you. Then I'm going to circle back to Jerry and then Kent.
All right, I'm unmuted this time. Everybody's life has changed quite a bit during this whole last 4 months as far as how they operate their business and everything. And I'm sure as a coach, that has certainly changed for you. Can you kind of talk to how that's changed for you as a coach during this time? And then the second part of that question, what kind of reports have you received from campus about how these guys have been building their chemistry since they've been together?
Well, the only way I can ask that question is from Robert Harris, who's doing the weight training and conditioning. We have Zoom calls twice a week. We've done Zoom calls. I've done a Zoom call with them and their families once a week. I'm not allowed to be in my car waving to them, which is why I just left campus. I haven't been in my office. When's the last time you've been in your office, Eric?
I've been there one time to pick up one thing in 4 months.
I mean, we can't, so I'm going to sit in Lexington. So I've not been there. They keep saying, Coach, we want to see you. When I came here to work with you, where are you? And so I'm going back this week, but I still can't be in the gym with them until the 20th. And so what I've said to them, let's use this time to separate from everybody else. Let's use this time to be in the greatest condition, get physically right. We should be a great shooting team because it's all you can do right now is shoot. And then when we go in, it'll be individual work with conditioning combined. And my hope is within a week or so, we start with 3-on-3 and 5-on-5 to where, we've been negative for 4 weeks. We're in a bubble. We're safe, us, as long as no one's breaking the bubble. And, we're just trying to guard against all that stuff. And we're unique. I mean, we're in the lodge where they're in a single room with a single bathroom. They walk across the parking lot. They're in a sterile gym that no one else is using. No one else is in the building. Weight training, conditioning is outside. So now all of a sudden the meals, they're box meals. The chef makes it, we leave it out. If we're ordering meals away from campus, they're delivered outside and no one breaks into the building. You got a sterile bubble that's as good as it gets anywhere. Now we got to say, okay, they've been negative for this period of time. They're like a family now. They should be able to be together, and if they want to do certain things, but we've got to go again with the science and what the campuses and the SEC. The SEC has been probably the most limiting of all the leagues out there for basketball anyway.
Guys, timing wise, we're going to have 3 more questions. We're going to go to Jerry, back to Kent, and back to Kyle to end it. Jerry, you're unmuted.
John, just a quick follow on Olivier. You said there are 3 buckets, and he has a good argument to make. I'm wondering if you can elaborate a little on.
Well, I can't, but that's the bucket thing is in that what they talk about publicly, Eric, the NCAA, it fits in these buckets. I believe so.
Seen a little bit of that, yeah.
Yeah. So, but where his fits in, I'm not at liberty to say.
All right, Kent, back to you, and then we'll end it with you, Kyle.
Yeah, John, next Monday when you're finally able to get on the court with your team, is that going to be better for you or for them? Because you kind of mentioned the fact that they want to get on the court with you.
No, I'm excited. But again, let me say what happens. I got one player at one basket. Like I'm going 12 hours where I got each kid for an hour, 4 days a week. And then this beard would be about down to here. Okay. And the ponytail would probably be down there too in the back. But if we go 2 in a gym or 3 in a gym with 3 coaches, I'm being one. Now you're talking 4 hours, and I would love it. Just, to me, to be able to be back. I may shave the beard. I don't know. My wife wants me to shave the beard, which means there's probably little chance I will. The haircut, everybody's on me. You got to cut your hair. Your hair looks like shit. That's what they're saying to me. And I'm like, I may not cut my hair for a while. I don't know. I looked at John Hale. He looks like shit too, but he put a hat on. I don't know if his hair's sideways or what it is, but he looks like hell too. So the rest of you.
Yeah. I haven't got my hair cut in like 4 months. So there you go.
Is that right? You haven't? Is that because you're cheap or you're making a statement?
Both.
Has anybody ever told you, Cal, that you got a little bit of the mid-'80s NFL quarterback thing going in the back?
Hey, my wife said it's business in the front, party in the back. I don't know. I mean, I'm like, I just don't want to get it cut until everything is underway. The beard was looking, I trimmed it down. But You know, I just said, I may keep the hair going for a while. I don't know.
All right,
I'm
Kyle.
feeling, you know, I'm in shorts and a t-shirt, flip-flops, and my hair's everywhere. I got holes in my jeans. I don't know what it means. I really don't know what it means, but
Kyle, we'll let you take it on.
This is not my question, but are you gonna dress like your guy Huggins on the sideline?
no, never,
from now on?
never, never.
I just wanted to clarify, your whole team has been tested and nobody has tested positive?
Everybody's practicing. So, you know, we're practicing the conditioning, the weight training, the basketball, everybody's in. So, again, that's HIPAA rules. You can't say a whole lot of what's what, but, you know, the great thing, and I come back to, and I hope you guys all print this, our state has done a great job, and now we got to turn it up. And it may not matter because there's so many other states that are losing their minds and things are going haywire, but our state, you know, and it's 4 million of us. Let's just protect each other. Wear the mask. Everybody says it. It's not a statement. Just wear the mask. It protects you. It protects somebody else. I mean, if we do that, just wear the mask. If you're out, if you're in a building, if you're outside walking around, I get it. But if you're in a building, you're in any kind of position where you're around people, put the mask on. When I walk the boardwalk, I'll have the mask with me. No, I had it in my pocket. And if I go by a group of people, I put the mask on. If I'm walking, I'm by myself and there's no one but seagulls, I'm not going to put the mask on. I mean, you know, if I'm at the beach and we're separated and it's just us, I'll take the mask off. But I would tell everybody, you know, we got to get through this. And unless things start to change, what everybody's hope is it's going to be hard to happen. And again, all these young people, and again, how about this one? We're talking about, why do you want students on the campus? Can you imagine a student working their whole life to have an opportunity to be accepted at a school like Kentucky? Their whole life, that's all they've thought about. They've trained, they've been studying, they've done it, they've finished in the top 15 in their class, they've done everything, and then they can't go to college. They got to do it remotely. Think of that. How many young people are going to be, my whole life I've prepared for this and I'm not getting an opportunity? Or how about this, worse, you've been on campus, you've had a ball, you've learned, you've interacted socially, you've opened up, and now you can't come back to campus. That's worse than never coming, because the other guy doesn't know what he's missing. That one is like, oh my gosh. So, you know, we just got to, everybody's got to do what they can, but we also got to follow the science. I mean, it's, you know, got to follow the science, what it says. So.
Guys, that's probably a great stop.